You could accept the fact that this city is headed for a disaster of biblical proportion.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Well, they say it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes.
It was a legitimate call. It made sense. It was pass interference. I don't care what anybody says. That was pass interference, offensive pass interference. Yeah.
Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk from two men in the know. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
And you can win under pressure when it's there. You call runs when you're not supposed to. And Dak Prescott is throwing it in the dirt.
You know, I'm convinced that Jameis Winston is going to have an ESPN special 30 for 30.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome once again to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, alongside of me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Nodos? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the No Show. We are locked and loaded, ready to go. Get this thing going. And what? What's on our faces? What is this? Well, it's our new merch that we just got in. That's right, we have Football on the Know face mask, and they are ready for sale right away.
Absolutely.
So, quick, get your wallets out. Hurry up. They're $10 a piece. Not too bad, right? But these are actually very comfortable. They're breathable. They're nice. So get in line and get yourself one.
Absolutely. They're amazing. Here they are. Like he said, they're breathable.
Wow, supplies last.
Fit great all the way around. I love it. But there you go. Get your mask now. $10. Can't beat that. A lot of orders coming out quick, too. So I'm delivering a bunch tomorrow. So, I mean, they're going quick, so you guys get them up. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're starting a bit late. It's actually a lot late, but we're trying to go back over to switching over to our Facebook page. Facebook has changed their live streaming now and stuff like that, and their overlays and all kinds of
They don't want to
things
hear our
with it.
problems, Jim.
So we are trying to switch back to some of that. So just bear with us. We appreciate everybody joining us here right now via Restream, and we're going live through YouTube and also Periscope right now and Twitter. So thanks a lot for joining us. So let's get to it, Joe. The last couple of weeks, we've been doing a lot of different things with the divisions and stuff like that now, but the football season is going to start in 3 weeks. It's getting going. So we're getting amped up about fantasy football. If you guys got fantasy football questions out there, let it fly at us. Last week we did the fantasy rookies and how they could be effective with our keeper sweep. And also last week we did the AFC and NFC East divisions and then picked our division champions here. So this week we're going to do the same type of thing here and move forward, and we're going to attack the AFC West and the NFC West. So let's get right into it, Joe. AFC West, you know this division a lot. Your Raiders are in there now, the Las Vegas Raiders, and also the Los Angeles Chargers, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Denver Broncos here.
Right.
So let's get started with the Denver Broncos here. Joe,
Okay.
what do you think about the Broncos here? Let's take a look at them.
Well, the Broncos, I mean, this offseason, one of their biggest weaknesses was they needed more weapons around their new quarterback now, Drew Lock, who we only got to see a little bit, on-field performances from him. He didn't play the whole slate of games. So, and a lot of people are positive about his gameplay. They really do like, and they think that he's going to trend and develop towards their potential future starting quarterback, which is all well and good. However, he's still young. He still hasn't gone through all the different experiences that a quarterback needs to go through to help himself develop just yet. We've seen flashes from him here and there, making some good throws, some good decisions. He's a little bit more mobile than people give him credit for, so he does have some wheels to get out of trouble. And now what did they do? They added more weapons around him. So if your quarterback needs weapons, you know what I mean? You need to help him out, and the Broncos did that this year by drafting 2 wide receivers out of this year's draft, and Jerry Jeudy, who was seen as one of the top-tier receivers coming out, and also KJ Hamler, who was a little bit more of a a sleeper pick for the Denver Broncos, a kid who's very fast, very elusive, very quick, but also the reason why he slipped in the draft was because he had a problem with the dropsies in college. So if he can work hard in the offseason, I mean, I know it's going to be a short season. I mean, we're only doing practices now, so there's no preseason games going on to kind of like really get a good evaluation of each player, but he's got to work hard on catching the football, and maybe he'll be able to do well enough to become more of an asset for them this season. Don't forget Cortland Sutton. Nothing to sleep on about with Cortland Sutton. He is their absolute number one go-to guy, and now that he has a couple of rookies that are licking their chops, hoping that they can get on the football field and make a big difference for Denver. Jerry Jeudy, one of the best route runners coming out. So look for him to be a key cog this season for them at the number 2 spot. And KJ Hamler is fighting for that number 3. So a lot of excitement in Denver in terms of the receiving core. Their offensive line, though, took a little bit of a hit. They no longer have their true center who's been there for years. Now they replaced him with a rookie out of this year's draft as well. It's Lloyd Cushenberry the third, who I was high on coming out of LSU. I thought that he would, but he slid for some reason, went all the way to the 3rd round, and Denver, I thought, got themselves a steal there. So, again, it's night and day when you jump from college to pro. So let's see how he acclimates to the pro game and the speed of the game this season. Other than that, it looks like they got pretty much the same tier of offensive linemen. They're pretty average. They still have Garrett Bowles there. Not going to be the answer going forward. It looks like John Elway and company are ready to move on from him and find the future left tackle this next offseason. But for right now, they got to stick with him. One big addition that they made is DeMar Dotson at right tackle. They're looking to shore up that right side, who they've had a lot of problems with. Juwan James, who was going to be slated to be the starting right tackle, unfortunately, is now not there anymore. So that's it for that offensive line. Now, as far as the other weapons that they have, tight end-wise, I mean, you look at Nick Van Nett, a veteran coming over from Pittsburgh. He's an adequate tight end. He could definitely take over that 3rd spot, I guess you could call it, or the opposite side of Noah Fant. Also, there's a young rookie that they also got out of this draft. You sense a trend. They made a lot of additions offensively through this draft. Is Albert O, the tight end who ran a 4.5 40, very tall for a tight end, about 6'5", 6'6"-ish, and not as very stout, very slender, but mostly he's just seen as a receiving threat. So look for him for them to take both of these tight ends now. Noah Fant, who runs a 4.5, and then you also got now another tight end who can run a 4.5. I mean, think of the danger there. If you can utilize dual tight ends on the football field at the same time, both of these guys going out for passes on top of the receivers that you have, and hopefully, if they pan out, this could be somewhat of a sleeper type of defense that's going to explode this season. Don't forget Phillip Lindsay either. So he's another star-studded running back. But who did they also add? Melvin Gordon comes over from the Chargers and looks to also help out this run game. Not like they need it, though. I mean, Phillip Lindsay was over 1,000-yard rusher, was almost over 1,000, I believe, in receiving. I mean, he was like really starting to come on last season. So they had another weapon in Melvin Gordon. It'll be interesting to see how they utilize both those guys. And then defense. Their defense got really strong towards the end of the season. They really started to gel and started to come together. Unfortunately, though, they couldn't be complete. As you saw guys going down left and right, Bradley Chubb got injured. Von Miller had his fair share of dings throughout the season. And some of the previous veterans that they had on there are now no longer there. So a lot of turnover with the cornerbacks. They've added more talent in their corners. They've added more talent at the linebacker situation. And their defensive line is a little bit different. They bring over Jarrell Casey from the Tennessee Titans. So he looks like to be a prominent D tackle for them or D end in this 3-4 going forward. Now, I do think that the Broncos defense, since they do have Vic Fangio as the head coach, his defense, no matter who he has on there, he gets them up to par. He gets them playing better than what they normally are capable of. So I don't really have a worry about their defense. I do, however, think it's going to take a slight decline backwards because of the overall changing of the defensive roster. But nonetheless, the offensive side of the ball looked like it got a lot better.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Making a lot of changes. The one thing, we've talked about this before, without having the preseason games and a lot of the workouts that they were able to do before previous seasons, not being able to connect with Drew Lock here with these wide receivers, this fresh new look of these wide receivers in here. One of the things that's been happening during camp is there's a center competition where they're saying that actually the left guard, Austin Schlottman, could possibly be taking over the center spot until Cushenberry is comfortable to be into that spot. But right now, Austin Schlottman is looking nice in the training camp to where he might make a push to be the starter, but they're saying it's an open competition. He's leading so far. Nose tackle Mike Purcell so far also out of camp, we're hearing, is that he is raising above expectations out of here, and they're looking for something here for him to step up this season. And right now, so far in training camp, he's looking real good. And also, if you want to look at Drew Lock, one thing that's kind of good but then also kind of scary is they're saying that his effectiveness and able to extend the plays when the protection is breaking down, he looks a little better this year in doing that in training camp. But what does that show you about that offensive line possibly if your defensive line is getting through there and
I'm
pushing
looking my
through?
chops. I'm looking my chops,
you're
baby.
having some issues there. So, I mean, it's tough, but this also, this defense is pretty decent.
Something else that I wanted to touch on as well, and this goes for all the teams across the NFL. This is an offseason that's unprecedented. We have never had to go through this as teams go through it with training camp and not have a preseason game. So you're gonna end up seeing, I feel like, teams reaching out to other teams and saying we want to scrimmage. We want to scrimmage at our facility or at your facility, and because they need that opponent that's completely different than what they're used to in the day-to-day practices that they're having, so they can get a different face in front of them. They can get different players that have different traits than some of the guys that they're going up against, and that way get some kind of like a game-time feel going. Because without preseason games, like we were talking about before, it's harder for coaches to evaluate players. It's also harder to see how good a player has gotten over a period of time. And I feel like that's needed. So you're going to see the Denver Broncos reach out to maybe like the Dallas Cowboys or something like that and see if they can get a scrimmage going on, at least for just 1 week, just to see if they can notice any kind of weaknesses that anybody hasn't shown up to this point.
We have Swervo Gaming is in the house with us tonight, Joe.
Swervo
from YouTube is in here with us.
Yes.
He has a question, and I think it's about fantasy. He's like, how do you guys feel about James Conner so far? So, I mean, I'm guessing it's about fantasy.
Yeah,
I know Swervo is a big fantasy
assume.
guy.
Right.
He's been in a lot of leagues here in a winner, too. This
also
past
a
season,
champion as well. Congratulations, brother.
Yeah.
But, no, as far as James Conner, now listen, when you're talking about talent in fantasy, for James Conner, he is a legitimate top 10 type of running back for your fantasy leagues. The only issue with him, and I know that everybody out there should know this by now, is Conner just can't simply stay healthy. So that really kind of knocks him down off of that first-round tier, and maybe you could get a sleeper out of him. Again, it's all predicated on if he can stay healthy, and so far in his career, he hasn't been able to sustain that health. If you're going to take James Conner, which I would like to take him in, like maybe if he's around in the 3rd round, I would love to take him because, yes, it's still a risk if he does get hurt. However, if he pans out, I mean, you got yourself a star-studded starter in the 3rd round at the running back position, one of the more prominent positions in fantasy. So Conner, I do love him. Don't get me wrong. I love his talent. I love his ability on the football field. He's definitely going to give you points as long as he's on the field. But again, it just becomes that unknown question: is this the year he stays healthy?
Yeah, and I mean, I think he could be decent, but again, like you said, maybe later on, Steele, he is definitely not an RB1 on my team. maybe a flex spot.
Oh,
for
no
me.
way.
I would not go for it.
No way.
I'm not. No, I'm avoiding him.
When
'Cause
he's
again,
on the when he was on the football field, he was absolutely killing it in fantasy.
Yeah, maybe
Absolutely.
fantasy. I haven't done fantasy in a while, but I know he's hasn't been effective since he's had to take over the role himself. He hasn't been healthy either.
That's the
So-
problem right there. Is the
Well,
health.
yeah. So how can you have a great guy for your fantasy team if he's not healthy? If he's never there?
But that's what I just said. Is
Yeah.
that he's very productive when he's on the football field. He
Yeah, well,
produces
that's what I'm
touchdowns.
saying. He's not gonna be my
he gets
second
yards.
running back.
He gets fantasy
Maybe,
points for you
possibly.
when he's
definitely
healthy.
not my RB1.
But
so.
when he's injured, obviously that's the risk that you're
Mm-hmm.
taking. So if he could stay healthy for throughout the year, no question he'll be over 1,200 yards rushing, no doubt in my mind, and 10 to 11 touchdowns, easy. Because he's also a big part of the offense in the passing game as well. So there's really no question for me. If he could stay, if I could be reassured that he is definitely going to be healthy all year, I'm taking him in the first round, hands down. Not even a worry.
All right, so there you go. I hope that confused you some more, Swervo. But take Joe's advice. He's been doing the fantasy for a while still. I already.
But again,
found
no,
out,
I
so,
understand
but
what
I just
you're
don't agree
saying
with it.
is
I would
because
avoid him.
because of the injuries, and that's the only reason why
Right.
I wouldn't take him high is because of that only.
Right.
Production-wise, he is capable of giving you first-round numbers. But the problem is, and it's that risk thing. Now, for me, I know for Jim especially, but for me, whenever there's a risk in terms of injury, I kind of tend to stay away from guys like that because even though I know that James Conner could give me first-round talent in fantasy points and give me over 1,000 yards rushing, maybe 500 yards receiving, and double-digit touchdowns, it's all well and good, but you're running a risk no matter where you take him that if he gets hurt in week 6 and he's done for the rest of the season, he's not obviously he can't produce for you anymore. And if that's your only second, say if that's your number 2 running back, now you're at a big loss. And if you don't have depth, you're royally screwed. So because of that risk is the only reason why I wouldn't take him high. However, I would take him as like a flyer type of pick after I've taken some of the more prominent guys that usually stay healthy, because that's a big thing that not a lot of fantasy players go out there and they make sure that they're getting themselves a guy that's going to stay on the football field. Sometimes they're just, hey, it's a big name. It's a guy that's a starter, like James Conner. He's a starter. Oh, I'm going to take him high in the second round. You know what I mean? But you do have to do your due diligence. You have to do your research on some of these guys. If James Conner pulls a hamstring right before the season starts, that's an indicator not to take him at all. I mean, because that right there, this will be, I believe, his 4th season in the in the NFL. And if that's the case, and he's been injured at every the past 3, I mean, that right there should tell you not to invest too heavily in Connor. And hopefully, if you're lucky, no one else does, and they just let him fall to you later in the later rounds.
I think he's a great sleeper pick. If he's down there further on, which, again, I think other team owners will be also on the same mindset as us to say, well, he does get injured a lot. I'm not sure what I'm going to get from him. It's a great value pick. I'm going to see if he slides. If he slides a bit, again, maybe you said 3rd round or something like that, if he's still there available in that pool, if you're still looking running back, too, as well, you want to load up on running backs.
And that's the thing, too.
It's a good spot. Yeah, I can go
there's
with that.
a lot of different variables when it comes to your draft and who you're going to select. Obviously, you got the running back and receiver positions are the most important to get early on. So even in the 3rd round, you might get yourself a star-studded receiver over a James Conner. Even if you need a number 2 running back at that point, I still wouldn't take him. I would take the higher tiered wide receiver. Maybe he's 4th best wide receiver, 6th best wide receiver on the board, and he's still there sitting there because everybody's running back hungry and going crazy for the running backs. Go ahead and take one of the best talents you can via wide receiver if you want to try and press your luck at tight end. But I wouldn't do it in the 3rd round. But I know some people they want the top tier talent.
Yeah, and if it's a PPR league too, that changes some things, and definitely go wide receiver if they're there too. I mean, you load up.
Oh yeah,
why not?
Oh yeah,
definitely. So I don't know if that helped you or not, but it's a great debate, something to talk about. So Swervo Gaming in the house with us tonight. It's always a pleasure when he comes on. Anybody else too? Any questions, comments? Throw them out there. We're glad to talk about it. But let's get back to now. We're talking about the AFC West here division and the Denver Broncos.
Yep.
When I take a look at this defense here, now they've got. A.J. Bouye again here in the back end here also on this defense, and Bradley Chubb and Von Miller here getting to work together as a unit. Kareem Jackson there now as well. And and it's just the additions that they made. These guys buying in under Vic Fangio now. It seemed like the beginning of the season was a little rough going. He was one of those kind of hard-nosed guys, old school way. Yep. This is how it's going. I know Joe Flacco didn't really like it there and stuff like that. He wanted out. He's obviously done out of there now, so he's gone. He goes to the Jets. And now you've got Drew Lock in there. He's coming along a little bit here, too. A lot of people predicting a lot of this team this year. Melvin Gordon, the addition to a backfield that already I thought was doing fine.
It's already
with Philip Lindsay and Royce Freeman here. Nice 1-2 punch. If they're going to try and sprinkle in a little third, three-headed monster in the backfield, let's see how it goes. But again, it just seems like to me, Melvin Gordon going from a team to where he was holding out to where they could care less if they needed him there, going to a division rival just to kind of maybe spite them. But I don't know.
Still not going to get
a lot of play time.
Yeah, he's not the featured back.
I don't understand the thing there. Move with him. It just seems like to spite here. So, I mean, for me, there's a lot of questions with this team. I don't expect a whole lot like a lot of other people. But, yeah, who knows? Maybe they could surprise me. It's basically it's going to be wrapped around his defense. Vic Fangio, the defensive strength, and we'll see what happens moving forward.
This is the craziest
thing.
And
they've got Pat Shermer as their offensive coordinator, so.
Yeah, you bring up A.J. Bouye, but A.J. Bouye, there's a reason why he's available. Jaguars used all his good talent all the way in Jacksonville. He's no longer the young sprung kid who was shutting down receivers left and right. He's gotten a little slower. He's lost a step. Can he return to prominence now under this new defense? Because here's the other thing that you got to look at is how many new pieces are there that are going to have to learn Vic Fangio's defense now and apply that to the week in, week out under no preseason games. You can't try it out on the football field. There's no game tape of a preseason game to say, hey, you did this. I needed you to do this. You know what I mean? There's no real correction now. So now, as far as the teaching part of football for every team, that's going to be even harder because now there's not going to be mistakes pointed out to you because you had a preseason game last week and like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, all right, I got that now, and correct yourself. Now it's basically, we're doing drills, we're teaching people the system, but we don't even actually know until they get on the football field for real now. Week 1, it's the real deal. There's no preseason games, and everybody's just thrown out there on the football field. Let's go get them. So, I mean, that's another thing to look at, too.
Absolutely. Like I said, they down the new offense coordinator, Pat Shermer there, moving it forward. How is it going to work for them? So, I don't think so because he just got fired last year.
Okay.
So, I mean, he's in there now. So, we'll see how it goes.
I was just checking.
Yeah. No, I know. Sometimes you just forget it with some of these guys. But what he's good at, offensive coordinator. Let's see if he can get this team moving in the right direction. Get back in the niche that he feels comfortable with, out of the head coaching job. All right. So moving on, we'll move with the Kansas City Chiefs now. Let's take a look at them. This is an easier team, I think, kind of to take a look at because when we talk about teams that stay together, a lot of same personnel, not a lot of changes here. Although they did make some good moves here in the offseason and in the draft. A lot of the same guys still showing up here, coming along here with this team, trying to go back to the promised land and win the Super Bowl back-to-back. I think last year they were a fairly good team, not the best team. They found opportunities. Teams kept them in the game, in a sense, sort of like what happens sometimes with the Patriots, and they're able to – they have a strong offense where they can get back into it easily if their defense is hanging in there, keeping them around, and the other team's just letting them dangle it in front of them. They can score big right on top of you, hit you over the top. The one question that they do have, which has been coming up all over, and it deals with fantasy too as well, if you guys have fantasy questions out there, is Edwards-Helaire there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming into the spot just because Damian Williams now has said that he's opting out because of COVID-19. He's not going to be playing, so he moves in there. Seems to be as the true running back spot because behind him, you don't have a whole lot of bigger names that would be fighting for it. Guys that you have heard here and there, but none to make a strong spot, especially because Edwards-Helaire they did take in the first round, so you would expect they're going to try out this guy here and put him right into the spot, right into the limelight. But again, how aggressive is he going to be? Is he going to be able to light it up in some fantasy points here? Because this team, yes, they do utilize the running back and some dishing off and things like here with Andy Reid's offense, but they do like to throw it and burn you down deep with Sammy Watkins on one end and Tyreek Hill on the other.
Yeah, they're definitely an air it out type of offense. So for me, it's different because, yes, usually you can count on a rookie running back if he's talented enough to come in and make a big impact right away. Clyde Edwards-Helaire looks to be that running back. However, he's stepping in and trying to learn a new offense with the Kansas City Chiefs, which is very fast-paced. Can he block? That's another question. Can he be able to take on blocks? I know in college sometimes he had some great blocks, one time, and then the next time he was getting beat. So if they're going to rely on him for blocking a lot more often in the backfield to help protect Patrick Mahomes, it could be like a 50-50 shot. You never know what you're going to get. But beyond that, there's no question with his talent, he's a very quick, very elusive. He's kind of a stout type running back. He's not very big. He's got good size, but he's a little shorter than normal, which creates a little bit of deception behind those taller offensive linemen. But also he's got great balance. He can catch the ball in the backfield. So like Jim was mentioning, they are going to be able to utilize him out of the backfield to maybe throw him a screen or something like that. But does not have top-end speed. And I know speed isn't everything, but you're probably not going to get too many home runs out of this guy, hardly any, unless there's a breakdown on the defense. But other than that, he is going to move the chains. He is going to get yardage. I just question whether, him coming in as a rookie, we have not seen him play in the pros yet. You know what I mean? So it's very obvious to me. I know a lot of people are excited about him, and there's a lot to be excited about him coming at LSU. However, he is a rookie, everybody. Mm-hmm. He is coming into the NFL. Let's wait and see, after a couple of weeks to see how Andy Reid is going to utilize him and to see how much of an impact is he going to create on this high-powered offense where they love to air it out. I mean, when you got guys like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and Sammy Watkins, you know what I mean? It's hard not to just throw the ball to them. Mm-hmm. And another thing that people got to kind of take interest in is their offensive line is not as strong as it was. The MD from Kansas City, what's his name? Tardif?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, Laurent Tardif.
Laurent Tardif.
Yes.
But he's done. He retired. He moved on. He opted out. He's going to
he's working
become
in
a doctor,
right
and he's
now,
working right now,
Mm-hmm.
trying to help fight COVID-19 and so. And that was a Pro Bowl lineman for them. So that is a huge loss. Mm-hmm. And beyond that, they go ahead and they replace him with Kelechi Osemele. Mm-hmm. That's a big question mark. Kelechi Osemele just left the Jets.
Yes, yeah.
And if the Jets, who needed offensive help, let him walk, there's an issue there. Maybe Kelechi Osemele has fallen down talent-wise a little too far and might not be the stone-cold blocker that they really do need. Could end up being a sieve for them up the middle of the offensive line there. The other thing, too, to watch for is the left guard position. That's also kind of wide open. So both guard positions are in flux right now. Don't know how good some of these guys can develop, like a Nick Allegretti. He looks like he's penciled in at the left guard spot. Not too well known. A guy that's kind of going to hope that he can, do well enough for the Kansas City Chiefs to help prevent the pass rushers coming after him. Another thing, too, is Darrell Williams, who they drafted in this draft. They're hoping that he could be the next future center for them going forward. So he's got to develop even farther. He's not going to be a starter as of just yet. But again, these are unprecedented times. We're going through this pandemic with no preseason games, so it's really hard for coaches to kind of evaluate all these guys on the football field. And then nonetheless, I mean, you look at their defense. Now, their defense was kind of underrated throughout the season. I'll admit that. I underrated them. I didn't think they were going to be very good. But what you did notice last year is that week in and week out, as the season grew and went deeper into towards the playoffs, you notice this defense start to gel a little bit better, despite injuries that they had, which were a bunch, mind you. Yeah, you look at Juan Thornhill, who got injured early in the season, who was the starter, opposite Tyrann Mathieu, and was looking like Pro Bowl status. He ends up going down, so then it was just Mathieu by himself. And you look at guys like Alex Okafor at the end. He got hurt early, so he ended up leaving. Derek Nottie started to play pretty well alongside Chris Jones. and Frank Clark, who kind of was a little bit of a disappointment last year until when they got into the playoffs. Then you started to notice, a revitalization of him playing better. And, you got other guys that are a little bit older in terms of linebackers. Anthony Hitchens, he's returning for yet another season. He's getting up there in age, so the question remains, like, how long is he going to be able to hold up? They got a lot of new faces. When you look at that linebacking core, very new. A couple of rookies that they bringing in that they hope they could develop, maybe not this year, but possibly next season to be starters for them. But again, some spots in this defense, it looks like they have some weaknesses, some holes. Like I was mentioning, linebackers. Like you look at their cornerbacks. Now, cornerbacks, they got a lot of guys fighting for the cornerback positions, but nobody really cemented any of them. So you got to wonder going in with a rookie like L'Jarius Sneed, maybe he can push for a starting job. Right now you have Charvarius Ward, who looks to be penciled in as the starter, but nonetheless, no big names. There's nothing. There's a lot of new things happening with the Kansas City defense. Now, is that going to hurt them or possibly make them better? We're not going to know until we see them week one. But for me, on the outside looking in, it looks like their defensive line is still going to be nasty. Their linebackers look like not that great. They were kind of average before. Still think it's going to be pretty much the same. And really, your strongest part of your defense still is your safeties.
Yeah, and Chris Jones right up there. Again, being very effective here, like you said, especially the playoffs moving forward. That's what kept them going. Can they go back to it and do it again? We'll see. It's very tough to do.
The other thing, too, is I know we discussed it before we got on the show, is Brashad Breeland, who was going to be the starting cornerback for them, now is facing a 4-game suspension.
Absolutely. Yeah, so, I mean, that's big for them, too, moving forward. All right, so let's move on to your Las Vegas Raiders here, and a team to where last year, if you looked at them, they were in a lot of games. Again, just kind of let a few get away. We had discussed over and over again the third down efficiency, and then also red zone efficiency. When you get into the red zone, actually pulling out points, scoring, getting it done. Can they turn that around this year? Josh Jacobs, again, being effective for a second here with him. I see an explosive year for him moving forward. I think he's a great pickup for fantasy
should have been Rookie of the Year,
well.
just saying.
Yeah, I believe so as well. You get to see Richie Incognito here, too, full bore. And Ruggs, the third, the guy that they grabbed to be their sort of Tyreek Hill there. We're hearing a lot of great things out of minicamp with these guys moving forward. Tyrell Williams. So now they've got a nice receiving core here. Derek Carr with Marcus Mariota behind him. I still think it's Derek Carr's job to lose, but I think having that little bit of momentum here by having Marcus Mariota, who has been a starter in this league, behind him, helps generate, I think, a little bit of a flame underneath him, too, just to make sure that, I don't have this solidified, my team. And he is set out there, too. I've been disrespected for many years here, too. I'm going to step it up here, and you're going to see a new me here moving forward. And what do you think so far with your Las Vegas Raiders here, Joe?
Well, I mean, it's hands down Derek Carr's job. He's not going to lose his job. I know a lot of people got a little concerned or a little worried or were actually maybe ecstatic that Marcus Mariota got added to the team. But listen, every team needs a good backup. I mean, that's really what it is. Bottom line, you think about the Eagles when Carson Wentz goes down, and Nick Foles, who everyone's like, oh, man, it's Nick Foles. I don't know. Is he going to be able to do it? He ended up playing so well for them that he not only played well that first playoff game, but he also took them all the way to the Super Bowl and won it and won the Super Bowl MVP. So, I mean, it pays to have a good backup for you, and especially a guy who's going to learn the system like Marcus has been. Derek Carr's been working with him, trying to get him up to speed with Gruden's playbook, and it's going to take a year or two to get to that point like Derek Carr is. But nonetheless, Carr is doing phenomenal in camp. It's going to be his job. People need to stop being worried about, are they going to trade Carr or whatnot? No, he's the go-to guy there for sure. But another big problem for the Raiders last season was, again, like the Broncos, weapons. They just didn't have weapons. They had Tyrell Williams, who ended up getting injured halfway through the year, couldn't run to save his life because he had bone spurs in his feet, but still tried to play. It was pretty amazing. But nonetheless, now they have a plethora of weapons. You think about Darren Waller, who kind of went under the radar last season, really made a name for himself. It was basically the second best tight end last season in the league. And I know it sounds funny. You're like, wait, what about Kelsey and Waller were really close to each other in terms of stats. So I expect even better for Waller coming into this season. Now you look at all these weapons that they have, like Jim mentioned with Henry Ruggs and also Hunter Renfrow, Tyrell Williams.
Zay Jones looked good in camp so far, too.
Zay Jones, okay, he's getting cut, though. I tell you that right now. Because there's too much talent now.
There's a lot of talent.
And also there is another rookie that they got out of this draft in the third round, Brian Edwards, who's actually being all the talk of the town right now. He's come in phenomenal shape. He's working his tail off with Derek Carr and this team, and looks like he's pushing for a starting job already in practice. Now, here's the other thing, too, is you hear all these reports out of all these different teams' training camps, and they're saying, oh, well, this guy's doing amazing. This guy's doing amazing. Yeah, it's pretty amazing when these guys have nobody defending them and they're catching wide open passes. You know what I mean? So that's the other thing is, like, you might hear, like we're hearing about Brian Edwards. He's doing phenomenal. Okay, that's great. Well, let's see what happens when some physicality happens when he's got a corner that doesn't want to let him off the line. Let's see what happens when that happens. But as of right now, unfortunately, we can't have anything like that. So Brian Edwards, he's the talk of the town right now. That everyone's really high on him. Coaches are, Gruden is. But also, here's the other thing, too, is Nelson Aguilar has been playing pretty well, too. I know you might be laughing right now about Aguilar because you remember how he was with the Eagles. He dropped the football. There was a lot of miscommunication between him and Wentz. But apparently, it sounds like he's doing well with Las Vegas. Maybe you just need to change the scenery. Who knows? But I definitely could see Aguilar not really as a prominent receiver, more of a return guy for the Las Vegas Raiders. But also, you look at their offensive line. I mean, on paper, they're one of the best offensive lines in this division. Probably the best offensive line in this division. I mean, they have a very solid offensive line up and down, very rock solid. Running backs, like you mentioned, Josh Jacobs, he's a beast. He's amazing. If he can stay healthy this year, he will have over 1,200 rushing yards easy and double-digit touchdowns. Defensively, that's the big question mark. How good is this defense going to be? How good is it going to get? You've heard me in past episodes, if you watch our episodes routinely, that I've complained over and over about the D coordinator right now and Paul Gunther. I just don't think he can get it done. I don't think he has the right demeanor for it. I don't think he has the right scheme for it. He has talent around him, but it doesn't seem like the Raiders get past the 20th ranked mark at all. It seems like they're always last or second to last or something like that. The guy's been there for 3 years. I mean, come on. There has to be a change. But nonetheless, they added even more talent now to this defense, giving him all the keys to the chest here. You look at, they brought in Nick Kwiatkowski from the Chicago Bears, very underrated middle linebacker. He's going to make a big splash. The biggest linebacker free agent there was this past offseason, Corey Littleton, he ends up coming over to Las Vegas Raiders. Not to mention, you look at the corners. Now, corners, we already knew about Trayvon Mullen. Trayvon Mullen kind of made a name for himself in his rookie year as a very solid corner, shutdown type of guy. He can develop into that, but showed flashes here and there last season. He looks to come back, and he's going to cement that number one cornerback job, no doubt about it. But then everybody else, you got a lot of these young rookies. Guy that they took in the first round, Damon Arnett, he's looking really good in camp. You got guys like Isaiah Johnson, who last year was his rookie year, couldn't even play, was injured, missed the whole season. Now he looks like he's going to try pushing for a starting job. Prince Amukamara, you've heard that name before, right?
Absolutely.
Prince Amukamara is on this team right now, and they like what they see with him. And I'm amazed because I thought he was washed up. He was done. I mean, who knows? We have to wait and see how all this unfolds. But maybe Prince makes the team. And then after that, you look at the safeties. Jonathan Abram was a name that Raider fans were super excited about last year. He only played half a game. He absolutely destroyed the I forgot what running back. I think it was Royce Freeman on the sidelines or something like that, running down the sideline. Blew him up, but also blew a shoulder out at the same time. So very exciting to see in the first half. But again, I am tempering my expectations as a Raiders fan with Jonathan Abram because, yes, he showed flashes, but we still didn't even get a full season out of the guy. We have to see what he can do throughout the whole season. A lot of other guys, in this, Max Crosby, who had double-digit sacks as a rookie last year. Clelin Ferrell, who was used more at D-tackle than his natural position at the end. They added Carl Nassib. So all in all, they just added a lot of talent, with this team. Now, the biggest and hardest thing to do is when you have a lot of new faces is getting them all to gel together, creating that chemistry and that bond for them to play even better going forward. So this is a big question mark for me. I still have – I'm sorry. I have thoughts where I just don't think Gunther can get it done even with more talent. I don't think that our defense is going to be better, and that will be the decision maker for how good the Raiders be.
Absolutely. I think that's what it is here altogether, too, with those guys is, again, we saw how bad their secondary was, too, and where they had made a trade mid-season and so, too, to try and just move forward, along and start their rebuild kind of in a sense here, get all the picks that they had this coming season and retool. And now, again, let's see what they have. It seems like now after a few years with this team of Madoff, Mike Madoff and Gruden together, and we'll see if they can produce here and compete to where a division to where it seems like the Chargers, they're kind of looking for an identity. They're kind of in a transitional period.
I think it's kind of open, too.
That's what I think. I think in their transitional period because, again, you've got Tyrod Taylor, who's been a solid starter for Buffalo at times. But again, now they've got Justin Herbert that they drafted. When are they going to pull trigger on that? Drew Lock now in his, now full season together with this team, but with new wide receivers. Patrick Mahomes coming off of a Super Bowl again, though, too. But for me, I'm going to take a look at this guy, too, and see how defenses are playing him, if they have learned some other things from these past couple seasons and tee up on him better. And will he eliminate some of the mistakes? Because despite how great you want to say Patrick Mahomes is playing, we've seen the no-look passes. We've seen the shuffle around and kind of the, fake and then dish it quick. We've also seen a lot of misthrows and some poor decision-making that led over to turnovers that have put them behind in games to where, they've had to fight back and keep back into the game and get it going here now, too. So how will the Raiders play this season? I think they will take a step forward. From last season, like I said, last season it seemed like for them they were kind of growing. Now I think this season they're going to take another step forward if they can eliminate some of the mistakes that they had last season, and if this defense can help out that offense.
Yeah, and also just real quick for Raider fans out there, make sure you pay attention to by a kid by the name of Javen White. He looks like he's starting to get a lot of building up some steam going forward, and quite possibly he was an undrafted free agent. And get this, he's from UNLV. Las Vegas College, you know what I mean? So it looks like he's starting to gain some steam. He could quite possibly steal a starting job away from Nicholas Moreau, who's penciled in on the opposite linebacker spot.
All right, so let's move forward now to the Los Angeles Chargers. We are going over the AFC West division, just previewing, looking at the teams again quick. We'll get through the rosters, take a look at them, then we're going to give you our picks of the divisions moving forward. All right, so again, they've got Keenan Allen there, who looks pretty good so far, working out in the offseason here on his own. Now they get to come together here. Brian Bulaga, an addition from the Green Bay Packers, they move on to this offensive line. We've seen this offensive line to where they seem like they get some talent there, but again, injuries. Another team that's just injury-prone nonstop throughout this. Dan Feeney, one of them. So, you got Mike Pouncey there, too, a Pro Bowler, and you've got Tyrod Taylor here at the end. This is where everybody's looking. Tyrod Taylor, how is he going to look? Are we going to get the Tyrod Taylor from Buffalo, or are we going to get the one from the former Cleveland Browns or something like that? And again, they grabbed him just because I think, too, if you look at his turnover ratio, it is one of the best in the league when he was with Buffalo. I mean, there was nobody better at not turning over the ball, and you kind of think, like, oh, Tyrod Taylor, really? He can move around and get some plays going with your legs, too, which Phillip Rivers, on the other hand, was nowhere near really like that. He would dish it away and get into trouble, and that's when you would maybe see some of those poor throws turn into turnovers where the ball floated just a little bit extra here. And Hunter Henry again now in another season here with this team. Let's see him take a step forward. I don't know, but I really like the kid Austin. Yeah, I know. That's the thing. That's what you want to look at. And Austin Eckler, this guy has made a name for himself just because due to injuries and the fact that
he's a great player.
A great player, but I mean, he, having Melvin Gordon sit out, stuff like that, you really put the focus on Austin Eckler. You saw what kind of quickness. That's what I noticed about him. He has a lot of good quickness out there. Made a lot of big plays last year. I think fantasy owners, too, I looked at a website here to where fantasypros.com, I think it was. They had him up in the top 10 even in fantasy. So
I agree with that.
Take a look at that, see how he does for you fantasy owners out there. And then this defense. This defense has been good, and that's the problem is last year they were all gone just about. They were hurting. I think Melvin Ingram was the only one that stayed healthy out of them all.
Yep.
Joey Bosa in and out. He's had issues along his whole career here. The big hit that they had was Derwin James going down last year.
Right.
That really hurt them badly because that guy is an all-star all day long for them.
Oh yeah.
Making plays since his rookie year. They make the addition of the veteran Chris Harris now joins the team with these guys too as well. And they drafted Kenneth Murray in the first round too to join this team. The one thing I don't know how long it's going to take. They say it's not even about trying to get restructured deal to make bigger money. I think Melvin Ingram had talked about just not showing up for practices.
Oh, he's holding out.
Possibly they said it's not a technical holdout yet. But it looks like because he is the last year of his contract. So after this, he is a free agent. I think he's kind of looking for some secure extra kind of buffer money.
He just wants he wants security.
A little security, exactly, because that's what I mean. Going on with what's going to happen with 2020, salary caps, he hits even free agency. He is, surprisingly, I didn't even really think about it. He is 31, so what kind of money are teams willing to pay him even in free agency? Is he going to be floating out there or not? He's trying to look for a better deal, I think, or maybe bonus cash on a new deal moving forward, or even maybe another couple years to solidify his spot here with this defense.
Yeah, he just looking for security, plain and simple. I mean, after he witnessed Joey Bosa getting that mega deal,
that's the one thing.
As soon as that happened, he's like, "Oh, they're throwing money around." Well, you look at my stats from last season. I'm a pretty damn good player. I can rival Joey Bosa, and I'm a key cog on this defensive line opposite him. So. Show me the money. Give me some security because I am 31 years old and my contract's about to run out. How about you pay me some? Let me stay
he's
for
got $60 million on the hook this year.
Let me stay for another 3 seasons because I think he has that much left in the tank. Still a very, very talented player. Definitely gets the job done. And why wouldn't you want to have – listen, pass rushers are hard to find, as Gruden says.
Yeah,
so, I mean, you got to hold on to these guys as long as you can. If they're playing at a high level, like an Everson Griffin, I can't believe the Vikings let him walk. I can't believe they didn't even bring him back. He's still playing at a high level, even though he's in that late age in the lower 30s. But hey, Cowboys got themselves a steal in my mind. And the same thing could happen with Melvin Ingram. If he leaves, what's to say? I mean, I'm sorry, but as a Raiders fan, I would pick him up in a heartbeat if he was in, next offseason if he's a free agent. You bring him over, that could be nice. You team him up with guys like Max Crosby and Melvin. I'm just saying, but yeah, that could be deadly. But in that whole kind of episode and situation is going to kind of be pushed aside right now because right now it's crunch time. It's 3 weeks till kickoff. So they're not really worried about contracts right now. And even if Ingram was to say, I'm holding out. Really? I mean, you can't opt out right now. It's past that deadline. So unless you meet the criteria to opt out, whether a family member comes down with COVID or something like that, that's the only way you can at this point. Can the Chargers make it go away if they kind of just like you were saying, give him maybe a little bit of bonus money for this season to, hey, come back, let's go? Or is Melvin Ingram just kind of playing hard to get right now? And in the end, he's just going to play anyway. But what he is doing right now is he's letting the ownership know, like, listen, I want to stay. I want some security. So come talk to my agent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I say, he's on the hook for $16.6 million this year on this year's salary cap. So,
but the one biggest thing that I think, and you touched on it real quick, is Chris Harris Jr. Decided to go with the Chargers versus the Raiders. Those were the two teams that were heavily interested in him. He did choose the Chargers over the Raiders. And the funny thing is the Raiders were going to offer him more money. And he still chose the Chargers because he said that he liked the defense better. And that makes sense because when you really break it down, like brass tacks, there's veteran leadership on this team on the defense. There's better talent already, already sustained. You know what I mean by that is like there's more veterans that have the experience that know what they're doing, versus a Raiders defense which is very young and inexperienced. So he just felt more comfortable probably going to the Chargers. But nonetheless, that's a big addition for them. You put him opposite Casey Hayward, who is one of the best in the league. Woo! I mean, if Chris Harris can stay healthy, that's always been his problem as of late, these past few seasons, is that health-wise he just can't last. But if he can do that with the Chargers, and I know the Chargers have kind of got a hex on them because it seems like they always get injured no matter what every season. If that can happen for them, they got themselves a nice duo at cornerback. And then you look at their safeties with Rayshawn Jenkins and Derwin James. I mean, Derwin James, to have him back this season is going to be absolutely astronomically huge. He is the captain of this defense. He is the go-to guy in the back end that you can't throw over him. He's going to be all over your receiver. He does not let anybody get by him, and he doesn't let anybody get past that line of scrimmage. He is a great run support type safety. He can also pass coverage. He's just amazing. And then you look at their middle linebacker who they took in the first round, Kenneth Murray. They traded back into the lower half of the first round to get this kid. I was ecstatic when he was available. I thought for sure the Raiders were going to take him with their second first rounder, and they didn't. I was heated, man. I was heated. I think this kid is going to be an absolute stud for the Chargers. They get their next guy to be their franchise middle linebacker for the next 10 years. This kid is going to develop to be not only a phenomenal player, but he can do everything. Pass coverage, he's got it. Run support, he's got it. He's an amazing tackler and has a set of wheels that's unbelievable. So there's a lot to like with this defense. And then their offense is different. Like Jim mentioned, Tyrod Taylor. Is it going to be Tyrod Taylor? Is it going to be Justin Herbert? We don't know. If it is Taylor, I don't think it's such a bad idea, especially with the way things are going right now with just practices. At least Taylor knows the playbook inside and out. You have some veteran experience with Taylor. You can rely on him to be more of that mobile threat as well. I mean, not to say Herbert can't run. He can definitely run. But I feel like as a learning curve, I feel like Herbert might have a little bit more to overcome with this kind of offseason that's going on. And with some of their weapons that they have with a Mike Williams and a Keenan Allen receiving core right there, it's nice. But there's one kid that they took in the draft who I think it could end up being the steal of the draft. His seventh round pick is KJ Hill out of Ohio State. This kid, when he's at the Senior Bowl, he was lighting up DBs. Like, I mean, his route running is uncanny. He's got some speed. Not the fastest guy, but he's got some speed, and he's got phenomenal hands. I think he could develop into a beautiful number 3 for them this season. So watch out for him.
All right, there you go. We've covered the AFC West here all the way down to the Chargers. So let's take a look at what we have for our picks, Joe. We'll start off with yours here so far. And here is Joe's picks right here. He's picking the Kansas City Chiefs, then the the Las Vegas Raiders.
LA Chargers.
Then the LA Chargers. Then the Denver Broncos as the basement feeders here again.
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs, hey, listen, the Chiefs have been so successfile in the past couple of years since Andy Reid's taken over this team. They're super hard to go up against defensively. They got that high profile offense, and the defense, they don't really have to do much with that kind of an offense. So until you knock this team off, they are the favorites to win the division. I'm sorry. The Raiders usually struggle year in and year out facing Andy Reid. They just can't seem to get a win against them. And Raiders, I think they're going to be much improved offensively. Defensively, who knows? But I think in the end, they'll just do enough, maybe probably end up around 10-6 and take the second round placement there. Chargers, they could very well be second if everything goes well for them. It's very uncertain with the rookie quarterback or Tyrod Taylor or how well each one plays. That right there kind of has got to scare you a little bit. The first time they've been without an experienced veteran like Phillip Rivers. Tyrod Taylor's a different type of quarterback than Rivers, so who knows what's going to happen there. And the Denver Broncos, I just think that they did a good job. Don't get me wrong. They did a good job adding weaponry for Drew Lock, but I feel like their defense is still going to be a little weaker with a couple of new faces taking over at certain positions. And the Broncos as an offense, they're still got to develop together. They still got to get on the same page. And with Drew Lock as your quarterback, I'm not completely sold that they're ready to win just yet.
All right, here you go. Now here's my picks, and I'm going to have the same exact thing that Joe said here. I'm going with the Chiefs, the Raiders, the Chargers, and then the Broncos. And for a lot of the similar things, again, Kansas City Chiefs, you got to believe that they're going to be the favorites just because they were the returning champions here now from last season. They do have a tough schedule here, especially the week one. They have to face the Texans, a team that was beating them easily handedly until they screwed it up.
Away.
All right, so then but again, they have some trials and tribulations they still have to deal with too, and it's tough being that team that has to try and come back and win the Super Bowl again, Siri. And this division, if everybody stays healthy now, could be very close too, because again, the Chargers, I picked them to win the division last year because they're going off of what they had the season before. They made it, I think, close, like the divisional championship game until when they got beat by the Patriots. But they were looking good, looking under Anthony Lynn, coach of the year, I think, moving on, looking like they're moving forward here with things. But since then, you know, we've seen Melvin Gordon move on. Phillip Rivers is gone now too. Still a lot in that strong defense, and that's what's going to keep them in the games here too. And they've got some great youth at wide receiver and great talent. But I like to play on the safe side. I'm feeling it out here and seeing how they go and if they can all stay healthy with this team. The Raiders, again, I watched a lot of their games last year. They were in a lot of games and kind of let teams, off the hook and stuff and got out of it. I'm hoping that they can fix this situation, especially with some of the things more moves that they have made. Another year together here, and with Gruden there, he's got to start making this moves. He's got the 10-year plan or so or whatever it's got going moving forward. I want to see some of that moving together here in the positive light. That new stadium, they want to show it off here and perform well.
They're not showing it off
in
this year.
Vegas.
No fans.
Well, they can't show it off that way. Everybody's going to see it though. I mean, you're going to see it. And the Broncos, like you said, like we've been saying, new wide receiver core, trying to make it click. Their defense is still going to be pretty good, and again, they got 3 running backs there too that can still handle the ball here, there, and everywhere. I'm just nervous, so I'm not expecting a whole lot from them. I want them to more surprise me. I'm playing on the safe side.
Yeah, it's different this year. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when you got new rookies come in, even Drew Lock is. I mean, yeah, he's not a rookie, but he's still got that young, new type of feel.
You saw where he made mistakes last year. Again,
right.
How is he going to go moving forward?
Right, exactly. Like, is he going to be able to read defenses a little bit better this season? Is he going to make better decisions? Because he wasn't, the safest tool in the box, you know what I mean, to grab and utilize. So can he take that next step in development and be a little bit better, especially now having some young rookies that could come in and possibly help him move the ball?
Yep. All right, next up, we're going to be taking a look at the NFC West now. And let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals, a team that I think is on the up-and-coming, too, as well. We saw a little bit of that gelling, like we've talked about with
late
this
in the
team.
year.
Late in the year, moving together. Andy Isabella starting to come into himself here. Christian Kirk. And now they make the addition of DeAndre Hopkins. They move aside from their running back, and they have, Kenyon Drake there. They made the trade, got Drake here from Miami last year, but he's now their true starter here with them. And then it seemed like, again, Larry Fitzgerald, the ageless wonder, still playing at a fairly high level. The young guy, Christian Kirk, but now DeAndre Hopkins there, too, as well, with Andy Isabella. I mean, they are stacked here at wide receivers. It is great for Kyler Murray here. I mean, that can only help him develop, and having that veteran status here now with Larry Fitzgerald and DeAndre Hopkins, I mean, choose your threat here. What do you want to do? You know what I'm saying? It's just great.
You better be able to play man-to-man. That's all I know.
Absolutely here. And then you take a look on the defense, and Chandler Jones, a guy who want to talk about the guy that's been disrespected and overlooked all the time. Chandler Jones is the epitome. This guy does nothing but perform, be a sack leader, and nobody talks about him at all. You hear Aaron Donald, you hear names J.J. Watt, you hear all this and that. You ain't no Chandler Jones anywhere. And this guy is doing nothing but balling out. Patrick Peterson, he was on a part where he was like walking away from the team. He didn't want to be here. But I think now with the additions that they have in the team now, and moving forward, what they have, he's kind of like, all right, this doesn't look so bad now here. I've got some more talent around me. Buda Baker again in another year here with these guys. Byron Murphy here.
New Byron Murphy,
yeah. So, made some great additions here. They drafted Isaiah Simmons here also in the first round here. So, they help out those the linebacker positions here, too, on the outsides. This is going to be great on their defense. I think you're going to see a whole new Arizona team, and they don't be surprised if they make a push for this division.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is they not only did they make a lot of moves, but they made some correct moves, some moves that aren't far-fetched, and some moves that aren't big, huge names. So you look at their D-line. They bring in Jordan Phillips from Buffalo, who, mind you, some of you might not even have heard the guy, but he is a bulldozer of a lineman. Like He's going to fit very well as the nose tackle on this defense. He can also apply pressure. He has pass rush ability. He's also not going to be moved. He's just a giant of a man. Corey Peters, the old-time vet, comes over from Atlanta, and he's going to help with that right DN spot. You look at Jim just brought up Isaiah Simmons, who I was super high on. I wanted in the worst way the Raiders to trade up and get this guy because I think not only is he can be a athletic, and his size is freakish, and with the speed that he has is just absolutely nuts. But he can not only play linebacker, but you could, and you might see it with Arizona. They might get a little creative with Isaiah Simmons because in college he played linebacker, he played safety, he even played, get this, slot corner, and the guy's the size of a linebacker, but can keep up with receivers. That's the dangerous thing. So Isaiah Simmons, you're probably going to see him play a little bit of safety sometimes in certain packages, as well as linebacker. And depending if a tight end lines up in the slot, just saying, they might put Simmons on that tight end. And I think it's going to pay off huge dividends for this kid. This kid's going to be amazing. The big thing for him is this offseason, as strange as it is, if he can get the defensive playbook down, that'll just make him even more dangerous. Because if he has understanding before the season hits in 3 weeks, then he's going to be able to react and not have to think about anything. So watch out for him. Jim mentioned Chandler Jones. Double-digit sacks every season, it seems like. The dude is off the charts in productivity. He's going to do it again this year. I don't see any signs of him slowing down. A couple of big things to note, too, is their linebacking core was really weak last year. They didn't really have any, strong answers there. They went hard into this offseason, and they bring guys over from Atlanta, Devondre Campbell, who's been a starter for the Atlanta Falcons for years. He comes over with veteran presence. Also, Jordan Hicks comes over from the Eagles, who I kind of liked. I thought that, maybe the Raiders might want middle linebacker there, but no, I'm happy with what they got. But anyway, he's another veteran presence they bring over. He looks like he's going to be the answer for that hole at middle linebacker. Patrick Peterson, once wanted out of Arizona in the worst way because he just didn't see the organization putting anything together for them to possibly be pushing for a Super Bowl or even contending for the division. So he just wanted out, but then he had a meeting with the ownership group. He had a meeting with his coach and everything, and they reassured him, like, listen, you're going to see some changes happening, and just, be patient. And he was, and it paid off because now you're seeing all these additions for them, excuse me, especially on the defensive side where they had so many holes. Yeah, you look at Buda Baker coming back another season. He's going to be amazing at free safety. Byron Murphy, if he can stay healthy, I think this is a good addition for them to pair him up with Patrick Peterson. This defense could be a very sneaky defense this fantasy season to keep an eye on. Maybe you put them in your back pocket, take them as in the last round or something, somebody that overlooks them. this could pay off huge dividends for you later on in the season. And not to mention defensively in the reality, in real football, they could be extremely dangerous. There is, however, another rookie on this defense that I want to bring attention to is Leki Fotu. He looks as the backup nose, and I saw his combine. I saw his pro days and stuff like that. This kid is not only like a juggernaut type of human being. He can't be moved. He's super strong, and I think that eventually he's going to take over probably the DN spot from Corey Peters or Zach Allen. And offensively, I mean, the hype and the praise is all about DeAndre Hopkins coming over to Arizona. Larry Fitzgerald playing another season, which is absolutely amazing. Andy Isabella, an underrated type of receiver, young in his age, coming back. I think it's is this his third season, maybe second season, something like that. Andy Isabella, I was pretty high on coming out of the draft. He's starting to make a name for himself in this offense. It looks like he's getting more comfortable. Him and Kyler Murray are developing some great chemistry, along with Christian Kirk. And now you add Hopkins to this group. I mean, pick your poison. Who do you want to defend? You got 4 receivers that can run, well, except for Larry, that can run pretty fast. Yeah. Larry takes it easy in his old age. But nonetheless, one of the best. He has some of the best set of hands in football. So you have 2 receivers that got great, phenomenal hands, and you also got a guy like Kenyon Drake with Kyler Murray who has that mobility, that threat to take off, and I think that's going to have teams with all these weapons. Now you have Kyler Murray also in the backfield with Kenyon Drake, a little bit of an improved offensive line. Arizona looks like a little bit of a sleeper here. They could, like Jim was saying, they could very well push for the division. It all comes down to developing that chemistry and getting closer as a unit.
Absolutely. Again, second year with Cliff Kingsbury there with Kyler Murray. They looked like they were turning the corner last year. Now we get to see them with the additional weapons. I mean, it just looks promising. I like it the way it looks. Let's move forward now to the San Francisco 49ers, a team that made it to the Super Bowl. They had the Chiefs, too, also on the ropes. They had the team locked away, and, again, let them back into it. And,
oh, my God.
And there you go. The rest is history. Now we know what happens here. So now we get to see him again.
Yes, we do.
Still questions about Garoppolo on certain issues here. Is he going to be able to, bring this team to a higher level? Can he win the bigger games? Because we saw a little bit during the playoffs last year, they were doing a lot of running, and so wondering how's he going to do. You're getting not seeing a lot of Jimmy G. Are you guys just all running team? Do you not trust him? All this other stuff, and also the knee brace that he is wearing. Since he had that injury, he is wearing the knee brace for that ACL tear that he had.
You're damn right. I'd wear one too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we started to see it off a little bit when he was showing up to camp this year, but then he has it back on. When asked about it, he said, again, I use it as a precaution. Again, I feel comfortable with it. So I think people just got to get used to him having it on there. So it is what it is.
Listen, some offensive linemen, because they're in the trenches all the time, and if they've had knee surgeries or what have you, and even if they haven't had surgeries, they wear knee braces as a precaution because you never know. If your legs get taken out from underneath you, that you just feel a little bit safer, if that situation occurs.
Absolutely. That can only help you there. So, all right, so now we get to see this team here.
Yes, sir.
Minus Emmanuel Sanders, minus Jalen Hurd. He's out now, too.
Oh, my God. Can Jalen Hurd just freaking stay healthy? I mean, this kid he's so young. This is 2 years now. This is the second year he gets hurt. I was so excited for this kid. His rookie year coming in, I thought that he was going to develop into one of those physical wide receivers that you don't want to mess with, a guy that can go up for 50-50 balls, a guy that can move the chains and so forth. And I thought he was going to be a difference maker for this offense. But, man, again, he just ends up getting hurt.
Yep, Goodwin's gone too as well. You have Deebo Samuel there too, also, who's still there. Dante Pettis, and they go out and draft Brandon Ayuk. Now, a lot of people see maybe this is your guy that is going to be hitting it up hard here. He's a great asset that they've added to their team. Fantasy owners are keeping watch on this guy. We played keep or sweep along with these guys with the rookies last year. He was a big guy that we were keeping. Trent Williams, they add him to the offensive line too to help solidify the offense along with him, to keep some of these same guys here again. Weston Richburg.
I will. Let me
Mike
interrupt you for
McGlinchey.
1 second. I want to touch on Trent Williams real quick. I will give kudos to John Lynch, the GM of the 49ers, because Joe Staley surprisingly decided to retire. And because of that, that would leave a humongous hole at left tackle. So they end up calling the Washington football team. That's right, the stupid name that they named themselves. And they said, hey, what would it take to get Trent from you? Because, listen, Trent don't want to play for you. You know that. You know he's not going to play, because if he was willing to hold out last season and not come back to you, he's going to do it again. And it came as close to – I could definitely have seen Trent Williams just opt out the season yet again and be like, I'll just sit out another season. But Trent Williams, they pull off this trade to get one of the better Pro Bowl type of tackles to supplant another Pro Bowl left tackle, and they don't miss a beat. And probably enhance. I mean, Trent Williams had a lot of rest now at this point.
Yeah,
he's probably ready to go.
Yeah, and he's ready to go and play for a contender, which he wasn't seeing in Washington.
Right.
They add Jordan Reed, too, to go opposite side of George Kittle, which I think is a great spot for him to be, because we've seen him in Washington but be also fairly injury-prone. But when he's out there, he is effective. We've seen some big plays from him last season, but now here with a contender as well. Maybe open it up here for George Kittle,
maybe
too.
giving Jordan Reed a little bit more incentive to stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe he was
too.
faking some of those
Well, he
injuries.
also, maybe it doesn't have to be that whole workhorse there that maybe he had to be in Washington.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
Again, you look now onto this defense here. The defense and
what defense? They got a defense?
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Sickening when you look at all these guys. Again, when we talk about teams that come back this year, and the teams that have a lot of the same personnel are going to be probably the most effective this year, have better chances. This is a team who has stayed pretty much the same team. They have lost a little bit on wide receiver here, but they had added nice young talent here, and two of their other receivers here, and Dante Pettis and Deebo Samuel is still here. Know the playbook. They know they know how it goes here. They do shed a little bit on some of the running backs here, but still, Raheem Mostert, he was looking like he was going to stick out for a deal or whatever, but he has stifled that, and he has been, a nice little lightning rod for this team too, a little hidden gem, because he has bounced around from team to team.
Which is surprising.
Yeah, well, sometimes you find those gems or guys. What happens too when you look up development, some organizations are better to develop with certain players than others.
Some organizations just
can't do it at all, and they miss. Yeah, absolutely as well. We see that a lot with the Patriots. And again, this on the defense, just as exciting and just as good. And they add Javon Kinlaw here onto this team in the first round too as well. So it's really sickening when you see a great defense and then they get their number one pick and they grab a guy like that too just to add to it again, and you're just like, oh man. Can they even get any better? So, I mean, this is amazing to see these guys. I think they're going to make a push for this division, too, as well.
Oh, yeah.
Be right there with them. They have got to be a diehard favorite. And do we see another Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl? And will they take it this time?
I'll take it a step farther. With Javon Kinlaw being added, now here's something that was very, very, very genius-like move. Is what the Niners did is DeForest Buckner was once a member of the Niners. They ended up, before the draft happened, they traded DeForest Buckner and his large salary to the Indianapolis Colts for their first-round pick. And with that first-round pick, they were able to get, I think in my mind, the number one D tackle this coming out in this draft, and Javon Kinlaw. I think it was a brilliant move. And listen, it all does depend if he pans out or not. I get that. But I think this kid is going to be the real deal. And if he is, not only is it a genius move, but now they saved all that money on that cap room by replacing him. They don't miss a beat. There's no weakness on the D-line still. You look at Eric Armstead, and now you have Solomon Thomas is going to get his first start, everybody. Because of that move, it shifted the D-line a little bit. Now Solomon Thomas, who was a first-round pick in 2017, is finally going to get his time to shine. He's been overshadowed by first-round pick after first-round pick after first-round pick. And now he's back there alongside with Kinlaw and Nick Bosa. I mean, Nick Bosa is an absolute tyrant on the D-line. He just wreaks havoc in the backfield, creates a lot of pressure, gets sacks left and right. He's going to do much of the same this year. It's scary enough to think. Also, linebackers. I mean, they don't miss nothing. Quan Alexander is still there at linebacker. Fred Warner was a pleasant surprise, I think, for 49er fans and for me as a football fan. This dude is the real deal at middle linebacker. He's amazing. He can cover the pass coverage is tremendous. His run support's amazing. He's just a very instinctive and smart linebacker. And also I want to point out was Dre Greenlaw. He kind of surprised me as well as a no-name type of player. This team is full of them, and the big thing too for them is safety. They were worried about Jimmy Ward leaving in free agency, had an opportunity to sign with anybody, couldn't get anything done, ends up returning back to the 49ers and signs a deal with them, so they don't miss anything there. And in the back end, Jaquiski Tart, as a buddy of mine would call him, Jaquiski Pop-Tart. He's still there for them in the back end. Akilo Witherspoon, who might end up losing his starting job, but not to Jason Verrett, because Jason Verrett seems like he has the injury bug every single season. But nonetheless, Richard Sherman's still there. He fits this defense to a T. He played very well for them last season. Now, what you do with Richard Sherman, you just put a fast receiver on him and just run deep. I mean, that's the only way you're going to beat him. But nonetheless, very solid defense from top to bottom, much of the same, no holes. Offensively, just want to touch on Brandon Ayuk out of the draft this year. I think the world of this kid. Very long arms for his stature, has a great catching radius, catches everything, has great route running ability, has some speed to boot, and you put him with Deebo Samuel, I think this is going to be a great tandem for the 49ers this season. It really sucks that Jalen Hurd got hurt, but this opens the door up for a guy like Kendrick Bourne, who we've seen flashes of him last season because he was pushed to the forefront beyond Dante Pettis. It looks like Dante Pettis has lost his job. It's safe to say. Last season, he really wasn't involved that much. Kendrick Bourne kind of took over, and he hasn't even looked back. So it looks like that is your kind of your top three right there. And then with Trent Williams coming in, and you have George Kittle, Jordan Reed. Now, if Jordan Reed can stay healthy, not being the main go-to guy, this just makes their offense way more dangerous. Like, you have George Kittle to throw to, and then, there goes Reed. Touchdown. I mean, this offense has the potential to be one of the more dangerous offenses in the league. Along with this defense, it's scary to think they are very well in the running for the playoffs.
All right, moving forward, we're going to talk about the Seattle Seahawks here. A team where it seemed like struggling on offensive line, and Russell Wilson's got to do everything, especially with the injuries that
he always has to do
before.
everything.
DK Metcalf has been a nice improvement for their team. David Moore is a nice little spot that they have here as well. They get Philip Dorsett from the New England Patriots. Will he be able to make a play in here with them? And Tyler Lockett, what a great player that these guys have had since the beginning to 2015.
Great chemistry.
Absolutely, making great plays over the top last season. And but they add Greg Olsen here, too, as well. The ageless wonder, Greg Olsen, the injured wonder, actually. You want to talk about it, and Madden giving him like a 90-something rating.
7 years since he played football, it feels like.
Yeah. Wasn't he? Isn't he supposed to be a commentator by now or something?
It's really been 2 years, but still, like, I just don't understand what the big draw was for a guy like
especially when you've got Hollister and
say
Luke Wilson, Will Disley.
They're tight end.
They're nice, youthful guys.
They're
Why
tight end.
Are you bringing in this
exactly?
guy?
Their tight end core is solid to boot. Like, it doesn't make any sense why they brought in Greg Olsen. Maybe they just felt bad for him in free agency. They're just like, let's bring him in.
I just don't get it on some of the things that they've done. And you've got the running back situation here. They go out and they get Carlos Hyde
Yes, sir.
to add onto Chris Carson, who has been a nice back for them. Last year, you saw where he shedded some weight.
Yep.
It was a little more effective, a little scatty a little bit. You got to see some of those moves he could pull off without that extra weight on him. Rashad Penny's still in there for some depth. He's cut some weight too. He's right now on the PUP list here, but he's been trying to shed some of the pounds as well, trying to get himself back effective in this game, see if they can get some spot starts here and there. But Carlos Hyde, another guy to where it was floating out there, didn't see him go anywhere, and then boom, they get him. Nice addition. I think, another team that just sneakily gets another guy, and you're like, oh, I didn't know he was out there. What a great move.
I just can't believe Carlos Hyde was still available as long as he was out in free agency. And there are teams that needed running back help, and he still didn't. No one went after him. So I was like, oh, yeah, sure, we'll take him, because I feel like they needed some insurance. I don't know who's going to start. It's probably looking more like a running back by committee type approach. But now, because Chris Carson has a hard time staying healthy when he is the feature back, now it seems like they're going to alleviate some of that pressure off of him. Now they got Carlos Hyde, who can also be a banger of a running back on the inside the tackles. And Rashad Penny, when he does become healthy, looks more of that receiving threat like he once was before.
And on the defense, I think they're on their back tail. It seems like they're trying to grab some guys. They go and get that trade here and get Jamal Adams here to fit in with them. But again, that solid core that's in the middle is getting older. They lose Jadeveon Clowney, aren't able to come to terms and get like a deal done to keep him there, where he was getting some I'd say his pass rushing ability created plays. He didn't exactly get sacks, but the pressure he was doing was there. But they decided to call Bruce Irvin back to that's going to change things and be able to be as effective.
Old man Bruce.
As what Jadeveon Clowney was doing. And again, that same core, Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, can still play at a high level. Shaquille Griffin, too, great as a corner here. I like that spot there. That's probably their highlight on their defense. But again, I think they're kind of in that transition period where there's on the tail end now. So Russell Wilson, they've got him locked in as their franchise quarterback, but I think it's time for them to start retooling a little bit on their defense a little more.
Yeah, for sure. And we've talked about this before and how their defense is starting to age, starting to get up there, especially with their linebacking core. Bobby Wagner, they decided to give him an extension. He's still there. He's getting into his 30s. KJ Wright is also getting up there in age. Shaquille Griffin at corner, I think he's getting up there. He's in his late 20s, I believe. And they go ahead, and it seems like they're trying to do a lot to recreate that Legion of Boom like they once had by making that big, huge trade for Jamal Adams. I get it. He's still in his prime. He's 25 years old. He's very young. They got him for the long haul. If they can, agree upon a long-term deal. I mean, that's really going to be the big thing. But Jamal Adams is more of the kind of in-the-box safety type of guy, and that kind of player does not really fit that well in today's NFL. He's not the best at pass coverage, so he could get beat deep from time to time. But Jamal Adams, what he is definitely a superior tackler as well as a great run support guy. And he might not be the best at pass coverage, but he has done fairly well with breaking up passes from time to time. But nonetheless, more of a sideline-to-sideline type guy to stop those runs or from long gains to happen. But nonetheless, they gave up a lot. They gave up 2 number ones. They gave up a third-round pick. They also gave up their starting safety who he replaced. You know what I mean? So who won that trade? I mean, initially it looks like the Jets won with all that compensation that they got and a player. But time will tell. We'll have to evaluate, see how well he works with this defense and so forth. A couple of corners that they do have is Trey Flowers, who a very tall, lanky type of corner for them last season, kind of took over that starting job opposite Shaq Griffin, and kind of, he had plenty of opportunities to make plays. That's for sure. Nobody really wanted to throw towards Shaq. They were like, let's pick on this dude. But he held his own. Played very well, very physical type of a corner, and looks like he has a promising future with the Seattle Seahawks. Other than that, like we mentioned before, their D-line, we talked about this team before. L.J. Collier coming back. His rookie year was kind of a wash. Never got to step foot on the football field, really making an impact. You look at Jerron Reed, who is their their golden goose on the D-line. Like, the guy, it just makes plays. But he can't do it by himself. You look at Poona Ford, an average, maybe a little bit of above average type of D tackle for them. But, again, when you got the likes of Bruce Irvin now as one of your potential pass rushers, the guy's aging. He's lost a step. I think he's washed up at this point. It seems like they're putting all their faith in these guys kind of taking a huge step forward in producing for them, which I'm not really sure is going to happen. It's going to be all on Jerron Reed. Teams are going to double team him and just say, hey, we'll do man-to-man against everybody else and see if they can do anything. I think that's going to be a problem for them, relying on the non-pass rush that they have right now. And you've seen in the recent months that they've been trying to bring in guys to kind of to add some pass rush talent to this team, older veterans, guys that have been on, in free agency forever, and they're still available. I even heard rumors that they're going to bring in, Ezekiel Ansah for a workout and guys of that nature. So if they do, I think they have to. They got to bring in guys like that to help with the pass rush of this D-line that looks on paper like lackluster rushers.
And the thing on offense, too, is that they have always been struggling with his offensive line. And I hear now in camp that the center position is wide open, which is scary because they've got penciled in B.J. Finney, and there's nobody else behind them. So that means they're talking about maybe moving some of the guards or tackles in here to cover up that center position. Right. And if you don't know who that is yet, that could be a problem here for this team.
No, they don't know, and this has always been a kind of an issue for Seattle. We've seen. Listen, this is the reason why they have Russell Wilson, because they already know that we know how mobile he is. Let's get past another year, and then we'll tackle that position. Let's get past another year, and maybe we'll tackle that position. It seems like a broken record at this point, where they just kind of don't do anything. The biggest move that they've made for this O-line was acquiring Dwayne Brown from Houston at the left tackle position. That's all well and good, but don't you think you should help your quarterback out a little bit more now that you have weapons like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett making a name for himself, as well as got some veterans like Philip Dorsett, who I think is going to fit tremendously in this offense, along with David Moore, another guy who kind of developed under Seattle's tutelage. You got to help your quarterback out. You got to give him more time, because if you want some of these deep these threats like DK Metcalf, you got to give him time, not have him to run around sideline to sideline to create time to throw these plays. Make it a little easier for the guy. The guy's done he's basically your whole offense. So help him out a little bit. And it seems like year in and year out, they just don't attack that position. They kind of negate it. They kind of duct tape it and patch it over year after year. Maybe after this season, maybe next offseason, they look forward to at least getting a center now. I mean, it looks like they're pretty lackluster on that.
Absolutely.
Position.
And you want to talk about even lackluster here. Let's move on with the Los Angeles Rams. A team that, again, made a surge. You were talking about everybody needed the next Sean McVay, young, youthful coach related to his players, a fresh new take on things. They had the talent. They had Aaron Donald back there. They had Ndamukong Suh back there. They had LaMarcus Joyner was part of the team. A lot of good
Dante
talent
Fowler
here.
Jr.
Dante Fowler Jr. Absolutely. You had
Aqib Talib.
Yeah, you can get the name.
Marcus Peters.
Yep. Tons of talent has come and gone. You know what I'm saying? And now
Rodney McLeod.
Yeah. Even look at the running back position here too. Gone.
Corey Littleton.
Corey Littleton, it's gone. You know what I'm saying? So they've got Andrew Whitworth they brought onto the team here.
He's been on the team.
Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah, that's right. What am I thinking? But you've got the same wide receivers here, except for now Brandon Cooks is gone in the trade. So now you've got Cooper Kupp, who can finally have his spotlight here with this team, alongside of Robert Woods. Josh Reynolds still making some plays, but they go and draft Van Jefferson, too, in the second round. That's a great steal by them, picking him up add with that wide receiver depth. Again, and the question here is what's gonna happen here? Is it gonna be Darrell Henderson? Is it gonna be Malcolm Brown? And they did get Cam Akers now too.
Great pick.
A lot of people are gonna see this guy jump into it. Is he going to be leapfrogged now
100%.
right into the starting percentage here and right into the spot? That's the question there, too.
Yes.
See how it is? I'm not hearing a
saying
lot
yes.
out of Los Angeles.
Yes.
But Jared Goff, again, questions about him with his contracts. What kind of quarterback is he? Is he the guy that's going to lead this team? Now that they, took away some of his talent, how are they going to perform? And then on defense, again, you still have Michael Brockers here. I still have some great players, Samson Ebukam, Aaron Donald, too, as well. But, again, you start to lose some guys, guys that you had here before. Now you've got Leonard Floyd in here in the mix, and you've got Micah Kaiser. They are looking to try and see Michael Kaiser step up here because they were kind of expecting something from him here. He did not play all last year.
Because they had other guys better in front of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he didn't play at all last year. And now this is his final year, so he needs to show now that they don't have Littleton there. They've got to, this is his time to shine because right alongside Leonard Floyd, him right there with the mix, Justin Lawler, he's got to get it done to get a deal or else he's on his outs too, and he's a free agent. So
I like Micah Kaiser. I just here's the thing is for the Rams in that situation, there was no way he was going to step on the field when you have the likes of Corey Littleton in front of him. So now you're right. Now it's his time to shine. He's finally getting an opportunity to show what he can do. Now, he did play in a rotational role last season, and in those plays, he looked like he could hold his own. But now he's going to have the spotlight on him. Now it's going to be about every single play that you're out there. Can you make a difference like your predecessor?
Well, he was out in the IR all last year, so he didn't play at all. But
good one.
But you also have Jalen Ramsey that they added to this team too, so that helps out a little bit on the back end too. But he's also, I think, kind of like on the downturn as well. Why do you think like some of these guys from Jacksonville are just letting them kind of walk? I mean, they were already kind of fading out. So I don't see this defense being as strong as they once were back when they were making a push for the Super Bowl. And I see this offense being effective, but I think just a different look altogether. I have a lot of questions here about the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do. I mean, you look at what, now there's no longer a Todd Gurley there. So there's not that familiar face in the backfield. And there was speculation, is his knees really bad? Can he play? Why aren't they calling plays for him under a heavy run-style offense? And the perception for the Rams is that they like to throw the ball a lot, which is not true. They do run the ball a lot more tentatively than throwing it. So look at some of these running backs that they have now with Malcolm Brown, and they have Darrell Henderson, who have been there with Todd Gurley when he was there. They kind of took a more prominent role last season with Gurley kind of falling back. And they drafted in the second round Cam Akers, a kid who I think hands down is going to end up winning this job at running back, and he's going to pay off huge for the Rams. He's a very fast running back, a guy with tremendous ball carrier vision, and has some great moves to display. He is going to be the real deal for the Rams going forward, and I can't stress it enough that he is a definite steal in the second round. He was a first-round type of talent who they got in the second round, who I definitely think could just pay and have a breakout season for the Rams because they're going to need that next-level running back. Malcolm Brown, very physical type of guy, isn't going to beat anybody in a foot race. Darrell Henderson is kind of like a little tick faster, a little bit more of a receiving threat, but again, not going to beat anybody with his moves really or take it all the way to the end zone. Cam Akers is that guy. Cam Akers is the guy who can do everything well. He can block. He can receive out of the backfield. He can also just run right by you and take off and just make you look like your ankles broke. I just think the world of this kid. I think he's going to develop to be that next feature back for them.
How effective do you think he would be in fantasy sports? Now, how do you think
I think he's going to be the starter.
Him? Yeah.
So I mean, if you're a starter, you're going to get opportunity to get those yards, to get fantasy points. So I'm hoping that Cam Akers for me is going to slide to the later rounds, and then I'm going to take him. Like I'm hoping that his name doesn't get talked about too much because it really isn't. Everybody's concentrating on Malcolm Brown and Darrell Henderson, but I think Cam Akers in the end, maybe even I think maybe because of the hard times of evaluating the talent on the football field nowadays, that he might not start right away, but I think he should. And I think that the coaches, when they see him on the football field and see what he can do with this offense, I think that by mid-season he's going to end up being the starter anyway, and then you've got yourself a key starting type of running back.
Right, I think along with fantasy, like when you're talking about that, I think when people like you see where Edward Solaire's getting a lot of play or a lot of show, people are looking at him because Damian Williams is out. They're like, well, he's got to be in Chiefs because they are Super Bowl champions. They're in the limelight. Patrick Mahomes, and that's not really the Rams right now. You were one of those teams that are out there and on the limelight, and people forget that Todd Gurley had just left. There is that little bit of a void there too. Right. This guy could come up and jump in and steal it and go right under the noses of a lot of guys, and people don't see it.
100%, and the same could be said for the receiving corps. Van Jefferson, he slid to the second round and he has first-round talent. I had him as one of my top 3 wide receivers coming out in this draft. But because he had a late season injury, it really critically hurt his stock, and that what's made him fall. So Van Jefferson, if he gets his playbook down, I think he's going to be a huge player for this Ram offense. They don't have Brandon Cooks anymore, but if they can get Van Jefferson up to speed with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, I mean, they might not miss anything. So, in fact, they might even gain a little bit better of a player and not just seen as just strictly as a deep threat like Cooks was. So, offense could be improved. It doesn't. I don't think that they really miss much. They still have Woods. They still have Kupp. Those are their. That's Jared Goff's security blankets there. So he's still going to be comfortable with the offense. He's going to have some younger weapons that he might be able to utilize this season. Their offensive line is healthy. I mean, that was a huge blow to them last year. See, Andrew Whitworth was injured, which was a big blow. A lot of other guys, like their center was injured. Their right guard was injured. It seemed like they just couldn't get anything going. And now that those guys are healthy, this offense, you look at Tyler Higbee, at tight end. He's kind of a guy that kind of goes under the radar, along with Gerald Everett. Those guys are going to be prominent, weapons for Jared Goff as well. And I just think the world of Cam. I think if Cam Akers can improve himself in practice and really show what he can do, and maybe the coaches start talking. Maybe they do start thinking, hey, maybe we should give this kid the starting job week 1 and see what he can do. So overall, I think their offense is still going to be solid. It's still going to be ran the same way. Just because Todd Gurley isn't there, they're still going to run the ball. And they're gonna the pass is gonna be their secondary option, especially with Cooper Kupp, who is he's just an amazing slot receiver. So look for the Rams to still be reliable. They're going to be a reliable team in this division. They too are going to try to push just like every other team, but nonetheless, I mean, this division looks like it's going to be tight yet again.
Yeah, absolutely. It could be anybody's show. Again, we've got a lot of up-and-coming talent, a lot of guys that have been there at the top and trying to compete with these other teams that are making moves and changing the way football is even played altogether with some of these.
Hey, Jim, I got a question.
It could be close.
There's been speculation right now of Jalen Ramsey being traded mid-season.
Really?
Yes. So
that's funny.
If that happens, okay, it looks like they're going to have the likes of Troy Hill and then corner to be named later.
And corner to be named later.
Because it doesn't look like they have an answer right now.
Yeah, because if you look at trying to see who
the one kid
corner would be Troy Hill, and then corner to be named like David Long, one of these other guys. Who knows?
You don't know.
Well, then you don't know. Do they go? Is Logan Ryan still out there? I mean, is he going to be there?
If they have an inkling that they can trade him and unload him, then you'll probably see a guy like Logan Ryan get swept up by them. But
what's jarring the Jalen Ramsey trade? Is it what's
money?
Money?
Just look at his contract.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. There.
It's insane.
Yeah, I think that's the thing we've seen with this team. You saw them go.
They spent a lot of money.
A lot of money, a lot of moves that they do, trading away picks here and there to try and force this team to stay up there and effective. And this is where right now, that's what I'm thinking we're seeing with this team is some of the fallout from it. You know what I mean? Because you saw, Dominican Sue there for 1 year, this guy for 1 year, and boom, now guys moving in and out. They try to get Jalen Ramsey. Like you said, Marcus Peters was in there, bam, bam, bam. And now none of these guys are on the team anymore. They're all gone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now you're talking here to try and save some money again, because you had to go and pay Aaron Donald. You had to pay some of these other guys here.
Goff you had to pay.
Goff, yep. So now that's where you're struggling, and that's where a team's always trying to say, how effective are we going to be with these contracts that we have right now? We saw the Seattle Seahawks able to do it, almost pull off 2 Super Bowl wins under Russell Wilson's first contract. That would have been great for them. But now still only having 1. But that's the thing the Chiefs have to face now. They went and give Patrick Mahomes a huge monster deal. Chris Jones gets a deal. You know what I'm saying? They're handing out deals left and right. You know what I'm saying? And so this is what this team has always had to be dealt with. Now, for the trade, who's the trading partner going to be, you think? What are they going to give up? Especially they know that you went and got this guy. Now all of a sudden you paid him and you don't want him anymore. You figured the value's got to be pretty low.
It should be. But it probably won't.
But who knows? I mean, how desperate are you? There's corners out there, like you said. Logan Ryan, people don't want to pay him maybe? Is that the deal? Then why would they want to absorb Jalen Ramsey's contract then on top of that? What teams would do that?
Because he's better.
Yeah.
He's seen as one of the top corners in this league right now, so it demands higher value.
So who still has money? Would it be the Jets still?
What's that?
Jets maybe? They still have money, and they have a void at corner, I would say. But
I don't know if you would see the Jets go after him. Yeah. They weren't even in the discussion when he was becoming available for trade. I know the Raiders were talking about going after him in a trade, but they couldn't agree on a longer-term deal. They were trying to get a deal done to where it was easy for the team and for him. But there was teams like that kind of like hummed around it, talked about it, talked with Jalen Ramsey's agent and so forth, but really wasn't going to go anywhere because he still wanted that big-time money. So now that the Rams have him, it seems like they're having second thoughts on the whole deal because looking forward, they may need some money to make this team as a whole better.
Absolutely.
Because like you mentioned before, the fallout with shelling out money left and right for to either keep a guy or get a guy to come to them and so forth. Now it might be catching up to him. And you look at some of the moves, too, like a Leonard Floyd, like you brought up. He's a guy who was he was a former first-round pick for the Chicago Bears, doesn't seem to fit into the defensive scheme that they're utilizing right now. And so the Rams say, hey, come over here. We need pass rushers, right? So it looks like Leonard Floyd may perhaps become that pass rusher for them. But if he failed in Chicago, well, I mean, maybe because it's a different scheme, maybe it kind of like, jump starts his career. But nonetheless, there's a guy to watch out for in linebacking corps from the Baltimore Ravens, and is Kenny Young. I feel like Kenny Young could take over one of these linebacker spots, maybe from a Justin Lawler, rather. I think that he is one of those talented guys that you could probably see starting in the lineup.
Yeah, is that the guy that was Jeremiah Spicer's cousin or something like that?
Yes, sir.
I thought so. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, so check that out. Yeah, maybe that would be great for them. But there you go. We've gone through all the teams again, speculated. What do you guys think out there, too? I mean, maybe that's a poll question or something we put up, too, about the Jalen Ramsey on our page or something like that. What do you guys think about the Ramsey?
What teams?
What teams do you think? Yeah, or what team would be interested, or what do you think would be a perfect fit? But anywho, we'll go and look at the picks here now. Joe has the San Francisco 49ers at the top.
Their defense is so good.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard not to think that they could eventually win this. Now, don't get me wrong. I think this division is going to be close regardless because it's one of those, competitive divisions. But the Niners, their defense is so stout. They didn't lose anything on defense. So, they traded DeForest Buckner away and they got a rookie there. But I still don't think they're going to miss a beat. I think they're still going to be dangerous on defense. Their offense looks like on paper it got a little bit better. So Jimmy G will probably feel a bit more comfortable, especially having a replacement for Trent Williams at left tackle. I just think that in the end they're going to probably edge out and win this division again.
Yeah, I see you have the
Arizona
Cardinals moving up in there
Cardinals,
too.
Some people may be surprised by this or shocked by this, but I really do like the direction that the Cardinals are going. I mean, they got their quarterback in Kyler Murray. Cliff Kingsbury was very, very direct and kind of pounded the table to draft Kyler Murray. So he got his guy, has his quarterback, and now is moving forward. Their offensive line looks like it's improved a little bit more, so maybe that leads to a little bit better protection. And their weapons now is just unbelievably deep. DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, Andy Isabella, Christian Kirk, and then another guy who we're not going to get to see yet again this season. Rookie year last year, never got to play. This year got injured again, isn't going to play as Hakeem Butler, so we're still going to have to wait on him. But nonetheless, they still have a bunch of weapons. They got Kenyon Drake in the backfield, who was absolutely amazing last season for them. And defensively, it looks like they got even better on defense. They filled a lot of holes. So with all that, I feel like that they could be one of these complete teams this season to maybe really push for this division, but just miss it and end up in second.
Absolutely, and you have Seattle there now pushing down to third, and then the Rams here taking dead last here. So, again, that's like you said, it's going to be a close division.
Yeah, Seattle.
So, I mean, these can flip-flop here and there, and we're just trying to take a stab at it here. We do see the Cardinals excelling. But then that means somebody's got to take the lower part of these divisions.
And I feel like the only reason why Seattle kind of ended up at third place for me right now is because their lack of their defensive line, their pressure that it looks like on paper that they're going to be able to generate. And Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, are they still going to be on that same plane? Are they still going to be on that same tier in terms of playmaking? I think they will maybe this year. But still, there's some holes in that defense. And because of that, I feel like they may kind of falter here and there in some of those close games that they have. And then for the Rams are kind of an unknown commodity right now. No Todd Gurley, no real definitive definition in terms of who's getting the ball in the backfield. For the Rams, is it going to be the rookie Cam Akers, who I think should hands down get it? Is it going to be Malcolm Brown, Darrell Henderson, so forth? Receiving threats are still there. They're still solid in that aspect. Maybe if Van Jefferson gets healthy enough, he's going to also be able to establish some chemistry with Jared Goff and kind of really make this offense go. Offensive line's healthy again. Defense is still going to be solid, I think. You still got some solid players on that side of the ball, so who knows?
Absolutely. And my picks, and it was a tough one, but I'm going to go to the same exact as you again. So two back-to-back weeks that we've had the same exact picks, but they'll change along the year, I think, as we go, or the next couple weeks. 3 weeks until the season starts, Joe, so I'm excited. It's about that. And
that's it.
Like you said here, with the Rams, my thing is the same thing I saw last year where that offense wasn't as potent as we'd seen before. They seemed like they had the little chink in their armor. They are trying to adapt, I think, as they go further, moving on. Seattle, it's always kind of been Russell Wilson here, more so as of late to do it all on his own. But I do like the receivers that he has around there. So minus the offensive line, I like the offense altogether. Greg Olsen, I don't know why they grabbed him at all. That was kind of just a waste or whatever. I know they're not paying him a lot,
nostalgia
but
signing.
I don't know. He's very much just hire him as a coach, I guess. But
Tight ends
maybe
coach.
he can beef it up and be a lineman. Who knows? And then, again, the Rams, not so sure about I'm high on the Cardinals, too, after what I saw a little bit last year. Now with the additional weapons, you can only imagine that it could get better here in San Francisco. Sticking with them just because same personnel this year with the offseason that we've had. Everybody that's familiar with each other, I think, sticks together, is going to be able to play together. And we'll see if Kyle Shanahan can not out-coach himself here again and into another Super Bowl loss. So moving forward with them. So, all right, so that's our AFC and NFC preview and our picks. So I hope you guys, enjoyed that. And you let us know if you don't agree or not. What do you think? Your opinion is always welcome out there. We don't care. We're not going to, fault you for that. Say we're right, you're wrong. If you're, want to believe something else, that's fine. We don't care. It's where we're like. We like all different opinions out there as well. So let's get into our In the Know fact of the day, Joe. We can bring up the fact of the day. I thought this was just a nice short one, but it's very cool. I think it's about the San Francisco 49ers. From 1953 to 1954, the San Francisco 49ers running back Joe Perry became the first player to rush for 1,000 yards in consecutive seasons. Not the first one to rush for 1,000, but consecutive seasons. We all know that the first one to rush for 1,000 yards was Beanie Feathers. Or Beanie Geathers. Beanie Geathers was the first one to rush for 1,000 yards. This is the first guy to do it consecutively together. So that's your In the Know fact of the day. All right.
Yes.
Yes, that's right. So we hit it there. We have a few minutes left here, so too. I think we should run through this quick though, still. But we've been doing the Madden ratings. We went through all the offense so far, except for the big boys. We like to give some love out to the big boys out there. Wasn't sure about if we're gonna do this, but you know what? Hell with it, because they still get Madden ratings wrong on every position here in Madden. Madden just screws it up altogether. They suck, and we're going to use their own data to prove their overall ratings wrong. So that's how we do it. We do it just to poke fun at them and make it out there. Plus, when you look at these guys, I'm telling you, grab their lists, use it as your cheat sheet, go do a Madden franchise mode, draft your guys
Fantasy
on your
draft.
board, and see how you do in the season. Let us know how it goes. I think maybe Joe and I will try to do that too, and we'll see how we do here. I bet you, because this is telling you your overall and how they really are going to play based on their attributes, and then you'll get a little more accurate picture. But let's move forward, and this is how they have it right now in the top 10. You got Zach Martin at 98, David Bakhtiari 96, Mitchell Schwartz 96, Teron Armstead at 95, Jason Kelsey number 94, Quentin Nelson 94, Brandon Brooks 93, Rodney Hudson, Ronnie Staley at 93, and Trent Williams here at 92. So all right, let's see what they're going to be with their new rating here moving forward, and let's see what we got here. We did the calculations. And this is what we have here now for Zach Martin. Zach Martin is going to be I don't know why this is not moving up. I'm in A. That's why. It's wrong one. Here we go. All right. Zach Martin is now a 93. So he goes down just a little bit. He was, a 98 to a 93? That's not so bad here. 93, that's a great move here. Sometimes we've seen when some of these guys, they drop drastically. I think it changed from... I think it was like the tight ends or something like that really went down. So it was really crazy with the amount of stats that we had with them, how much they dropped off. But all right, moving down to David Bakhtiari. He was one of the top guys here too. Oh man, boom, drops down to an 86, Joe. An 86 for Bakhtiari. I just don't. What? Yeah, how does that even happen? Because again, one of the top offensive linemen in the game.
It's age.
It could be.
they're just docking them for points because of age.
What are they slamming them in here? Health? Like, I don't know. With injuries? I'm not sure. All right, so Mitchell Schwartz here. He drops to an 87. All right, he's so an 80. So now you're seeing the numbers tick down. They're no longer in the 90s, which we saw with the previous list. They're in the upper 90s. Now they're dropping into the 80s quickly. All right, Teron Armstead, here you go, is in 88 here. All right, and now the top 5, Jason Kelsey is an 88 as well. Quentin Nelson, 90. He jumps up there now, so he's going to be leapfrogging these guys back into now a top 2 spot so far that we've seen. So Quentin Nelson, which I think should be up there too, fairly too. And it's tough because if you're looking at all offensive linemen, I mean, you're putting all the talent in together. So you're going to see some of these all-star names kind of get shoveled down here and there because it's tough to find a top 10 out of all positions on the O-line. All right, moving forward is Brandon Brooks is an 87. Rodney Hudson is an 87. Ronnie Staley is an 88. And Trent Williams is a 90. So there you go. Moving forward, those are all your re-ratings now here. Again, let's take a look at the original. The original, all in the 90s. The worst is 92. And so that would move up to our new list now that we have. As we compiled all the stats all together. And that will bring us to Zach Martin, still at number 1. Quentin Nelson leapfrogs now into the 2 spot. Trent Williams goes from 10th to 3rd, just like that. Wow, the ageless wonder here, Trent Williams. Ronnie Staley is in the top 5 now, too, at 88. A good bunch of guys here. Jason Kelsey, Armstead, both at 88. Mitchell Schwartz in 87. Ronnie Hudson, 87 here. And Brandon Brooks, 87. And Bakhtiari, the biggest difference here, going from a 96, dropping 10 spots to an 86 to round out the top 10. That is amazing here, Joe. When you look at the stats that they have given us, all the data, you do all the math, the strength, the blocking, impact blocking, pass blocking, run blocking, do it all together, and this is what you get now. Is it more accurate? Not so sure. I mean, again, you're going to have issues with some of these numbers here, Joe.
It's more accurate.
it's going to be accurate in a sense of what they given us, and maybe based on some of these guys and where their tail end is, like you said, the guys that have aged. They're going to lose. They're losing a little bit now. You can't be a 96 or 99 or something like that. So especially Zach Martin, even too, he is starting to even lose a little bit, even though he is a great talent here still. But again, a more realistic look, especially if you're going to play Madden. That's what your numbers you're looking at. So if you look at that cheat sheet, that's a good chance for you to pick a nice team here all together in your franchise.
Right, and that right there is based on their own top 10 and where they would we would re-rate them in that top 10 list. Now I went a little farther. I did a little bit more digging because I'm like, wow, it seems like guys are moving up, moving down, pretty crazy like. So what would the next 5 after that? So this would be the top 15. And if that was to happen, you got guys like David DeCastro, originally a 91. You got Ryan Remchek, originally a 91. Tyron Smith, a 91. Richie Incognito, a 90. And then Alex Mack to round out the next 5 with an 89. Here's the crazy thing, is after I did some more ratings on them, this list would be blown apart because the bottom 5 players on this top 10 list would all be kicked out. That's crazy. So David DeCastro, who was a 91, only drops to an 89, which would catapult him into the top 5. Ryan Remchek, an 88. He gets catapulted in the top 10. Tyron Smith, an 89. He gets catapulted in the top 5. Richie Incognito,
jumps in there. Wow.
Only goes to 87, so he gets up into the top 10.
Wow.
And then to finish off the 15th player on that list, Alex Mack only drops 1 point and is an 88. So he also goes in there. Those bottom 5 guys get dropped out, and then the whole top 10 gets reshuffled yet again. So you could see that if you want to get the best fantasy draft in Madden, especially in Madden 21 when it gets released, make sure you do your homework. So a lot of things can change, especially with offensive linemen. I don't think we've seen, out of all the positions that we've done so far, a more dramatic change in terms of top 10 based on these positions. Like, so offensive line kind of went crazy. And I understand
crazy.
that we're utilizing overall O linemen, so left tackles, guards, centers, right guards, and right tackles. But it's pretty crazy how much changes given when you redo the rating.
Yeah, right. And what they really, all the stats that matter, when it comes to that particular position, and where they overlook it and give them that overall rating. And if you play as your player, that's what I mean. You're looking at the guy and you're like, how is this even happening? You know what I'm saying? What is this? Or what are his hands? And what is his spectacular catch? Or what is this? And even if you see that rating, spectacular catch is this or whatever, and he still makes a dumb can't catch. It's like, whoa. Oh, how does that even happen? You're like, what are you doing? You're supposed to have this. What?
Yeah.
How does this happen?
Right.
It's just part of Madden, and that's why I think some people are excited to hear the news about 2K possibly going to be a thing, the new deal, with
what they do differently,
and everything.
What they improve on.
Yeah.
I mean, because here's the thing is I was watching some kind of a video, and it was about Madden 21 and what the changes are going to be, what to expect, what not to expect. According to this source, they're saying that Madden only changes their game, makes big changes or whatnot. They only change the game every 2 years. Not every single season do they majorly change it. So a lot of the issues that you may have had in Madden 20 are probably not going to be changed in Madden 21. So you might have to wait till the following year for those major changes to be had. Now, yes, they can. Every single season they do implement minor changes that improve the game.
Flow of game.
Yeah,
like
that, or maybe the fan. Listen, the fans. Okay, it hasn't been touched in years, so that you still got those just pictures or blurry images in the crowd or something like that. It looks like maybe they might improve on something like that. That's very minor, but adds a little bit better element to the game. Stuff like that. New, a different game mode. I know they're going to do something called Backstreet football, so it's more on a take of kind of like NBA Jam, I guess, or NFL. What was that? There was an NFL game,
Street.
NFL Street. So you can create your character. and go on with your friends and do 3-on-3.
Yep.
So that's kind of cool. It's kind of different and exciting to do. So all in all, it's interesting to see what Madden is going to change, see what they're going to improve on and whatnot. But as far as major improvements, it looks like this is not the year for them.
Absolutely. All right, that's it for our show tonight. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share, and post. Follow us on Twitter, FB_no. You can search us on YouTube at Football on the No Show. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell. We have new merch here. It is the time of the mask, and we have masks for sale for $10. Just hit us up in the DMs on Facebook, and we'll also get back to you on YouTube as well. All you YouTubers out there that follow us here, get yourself a mask too as well. And also go ahead, visit our page, because we're trying to do another movement to enhance the show altogether, try and make it an overall better experience. We are going to switch some other gears to our page now, focus on our page a little bit. So if you can, please go to our page, give it a follow so we can get some more recognition there as well.
Become a know-it-all.
Become a know-it-all. We will be making changes to around the studio and other things too as well moving forward with this upcoming season. We're excited. Joe's excited. I hope you guys are too. Thanks a lot for watching
Football in
us
3
tonight,
weeks.
and we'll see you next time.